Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, you're welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, you're welcome as well, and thanks for stopping by. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. We are going to be making this off-shoulder gown today, so please consider to watch this video to the end. Okay, so I have my fabric folded into four. Okay, so I have the front here. This is the front, which is folded into two, and the back is also folded into two. Okay, so I already placed them on top of each other, as you can see. So for you to know how much fabric you need to fold, you're just going to add 5 inches to quarter of your bust, or you can add more. It depends on how big you want your gown to be. So 5 inches, then 1 inch for seam allowance. The quarter of this bust is 10 inches, plus 5 inches is 15, then plus 1 inch seam allowance, I have 16 inches. So because I'm going to have a shape at the lower part of it, so I'm going to add extra 3 inches to the 16 inches. So that means the fold I have there, the measurement I have there on fold now is 19 inches. Okay, because the lower part of it is going to form an A shape, which means the lower part of it, the measurement I will have there will be more than the bust measurement I'll have. Okay, I hope you understand what I explained. So now I'm going to take our standard 5 inches off shoulder measurement. Okay, the standard is 5 inches, but you can go as low as 6 inches, 7 inches. It depends on how off you want. So I'm just taking the elastic casing measurement, which is 1 inch. You can see it. So from that 1 inch is where you are going to take your 5 inches allowance. I mean below the 1 inch. You can see how I'm going to place the tape rule now. So I'm placing the tape rule below that 1 inch elastic casing, and then from there I'm going to take the length of the gown, and the length of the gown I'm working with is 44 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance. I have 45 inches, so I'm just going to mark that 45 inches and then roll it up. So once I'm done, you're also going to determine the chest line, because the chest line or the armhole line, because that is how you're going to determine your armhole area. Okay, so below that 1 inch casing, so the chest line I'm working with is 9 inches. Then I added half an inch for ease. Okay, you don't want that area to be tight because this is a free gown, so I added half an inch for ease, for easy movement of the arm. So I'm just inserting the our bust measurement, my bust measurement. You know, I told you the lower part is going to be bigger than the bust. Okay, and I folded the fabric with the lower part's measurement. Okay, so that is why I have to measure out the quarter of the bust plus 5 inches and 1 inch for seam allowance, which I've added. So now I'm going to rule the point from the bust line to the length of the gown. I'm going to connect the points together to form an A shape at that lower part. But if you want yours to be straight, you can ignore the A shape. Okay. So at the lower part here, I'll just go up by 1 inch because you don't want sharp edge around there. So I'm taking 1 inch upward, and then I'm just going to curve it back. So now we are going to determine the armhole area. So what you can just do is just go in by 5 inch, just go in by 4 inches. Okay, you go in by 4 inches from your bust where I rolled the bust. So what I did there just now was I took the 1 inch seam allowance off. So after taking the 1 inch seam allowance off, then you go in by 4 inches to create the armhole. But if you don't take the 1 inch seam allowance off, that means you are going to be marking 5 inches. Okay, but if you mark your 1 inch seam allowance before taking the armhole measurement, then you'll be marking 4 inches, which is what I just did now. So once I'm done, I'm just going to connect the lines together. Okay. So you connect your armhole area. You can see how I'm curving it. So that is what you're going to do when you're making yours. So this is just simple. Under 20 to 25 minutes, you are done. The cutting and sewing, you are done. So this is what I have for the sleeve. What I'm going to do is the same way we normally cut our basic sleeve. You determine your round shoulder, your round armhole, and the round armhole I'm working with is 10 inches, which is here. And then I added extra 3 inches because of the elastic I'll be adding there. Then 1 inch for seam allowance, so I have 14 inches. And also this is the elastic casing, and then I will go up by 5 inches just like I did for the bodies, and then I'll mark 9.5, the same 9.5 I marked there. I'm also going to mark it here too. Okay, so I also came in by 4 inches at the bodies. I'll also do the same thing here as well. You go in by 4 inches. No, you go in here by 5 inches. 1 inch is going to be for seam allowance, so you go in by 5, you go in by 4 inches after your seam allowance. Ensure that you mark out the 1 inch seam allowance, and then from there you go in by 4 inches, because the 4 inches we marked at the bodies, that seam allowance was not inclusive. So when you are marking the 4 inches here, ensure that your 1 inch seam allowance is not included. So this is what I have. So I'm just going to curve it back, or you can just use your bodies, place your bodies on it, and then use it to cut this out. So this is what I have, and the length of the sleeve is 10.5. Then I added 1 inch for elastic casing. I'll be using small elastic for the bottom. Just going to cut this out now. It's a simple style. So I'll cut this out now. So when you want to join, before you place the elastic, make sure you've already joined this sleeve to the body. So after joining the sleeve to the body, you fold in the elastic casing before you now pass the elastic around. I hope you understand what I mean. And then after that, you also attach elastic to the bottom of the sleeve, and then you finish up the hem of this gown as well. So I'm making this for a plus size. Cut out a roll which the client is going to use to tie the gown.